Brett, who's leading us through it in a very gracious and gentle way. And the kind of information that's flowing back to me from several people is that it's causing them to reconsider old beliefs and letting go of things that are not necessarily so useful. So it's transformational in nature. And so inside of the distinctions that Brett brings, which is it's about time and it's about your investment in persons, places, and things, and various distinctions around it, particularly structural distinctions that really are a gift to us and are going to be so much part of the platform when we go on from TribeUp into Beyond Tribal Leadership. We're just really blessed to have Brett with us, and really blessed to have you with us. So with that being said, I want to introduce an idea that you put in the background. Okay, so this is a background conversation which will go to the foreground in a few weeks. And the background conversation is, dwell in what is the difference between craft and art. What is the distinction or difference? And I want you to kind of begin to arise yourself. So it's homework in the sense that it's something that as you, from time to time, the thought will come up again, or when you're doing things in life, when you're engaging in your relationship with other people, or engaging in things that you like doing or don't like doing, there is a craft and there's an art to it, whatever it is. And it's all part and parcel of what actually makes for a conversation that is the basis for leadership. So craft versus art, okay? And with that being said, just putting that into the background, just having that as a background kind of thing that's floating around there, and you will find that you know a lot. And I mean, you know a lot, and you not only know a lot, but paradoxically, you don't know shit. And that's with all of us. And in the same way, you know a lot about leadership, but on the other hand, you don't know shit. And you might want to consider that inside of that is also the distinction of teaching and so on like that. You know a lot. You know a lot. You know a lot, particularly in the area of the narrative, which is telling and explaining, but you don't know shit in the area of demonstrating and inspiring, unless you do, and even when you do, you don't. So it's all that's the nature of leadership. Is it's paradoxical. Okay, my darling, Brett, I want to hand it over to you, and for you to take us again on this adventuresome conversation regarding the distinctions of TribeUp.
Thank you, John. Good morning. Good to be with everyone. Allison, just to prep you, if this is okay, we didn't cover the 5 E's last week. So is it possible you would be able to bring that up sometime this morning?
I have it ready. So
you're the best.
Look at that. Look at that face. Look at that face.
I want to share 2 quick things I've been thinking about for the week, and then we'll do a lightning round, and then we'll go into the 5 E's. The connection circle, the middle circle, which is about knowing the score, conflicts with what we would typically think of as connection. So this is, in John's words a few minutes ago, this is kind of letting go of what you know, because there's a new distinction for it inside of the TribeUp framework, which is this actually becomes a goal, not a status. You're measuring it, but the goal becomes to connect, right? To cause influence and to cause active listening. You want to build a company, you're going to need to cause active listening. You want to have a great romance, you're going to need to cause active listening. If you want to be a great parent, you're going to need to cause active listening. So if we go back to what my definition of influence is, it's people listen to what you say and they act on what you say, if it is accurate for them or they perceive it as accurate for them. Significant influence, logarithmic. Think of build, grow, and scale. Is people tell others what you say and get others to act on what you say. So people start advocating on your behalf. If it's always just influence, then you're going to be trading hours for dollars. You're going to be trading a segment of time to get an equal reciprocal benefit. But if you can cause people to begin to advocate for you, you can build, grow, and scale, whatever it is, building a church, scaling a message, building a company. That's what viral growth is.
Okay, so Brett, let me just step in and underline something in the language of Landmark for a lot of the people that are in the program.
No matter.
He's very, very clearly saying cause, to cause something. To cause is to be responsible for. So you might say being responsible, the definition of being responsible is not who gets the blame or who gets the credit. It is being at cause in the matter. And being at cause in the matter is beyond the reasons for. So this is not anything about because you did this, that's reasonable. It is being a cause in the matter, being the cause in the matter of building your own tribe. And being, so that's why he's using terms like investing and so like that. So you might want to kind of add into the distinctions that you're listening through this conversation with is this is a telling you in words of not very many syllables that you are the person who's at cause in the matter of causing your own tribe into existence. That's why this works with listening people into existence, and this works with investing in persons, places, and things. You're causing something to happen. Okay, Brett, back to you.
Thank you, John. That was great. Some will grant us listening, and that's a gift. But you're not in control of that gift. So as John is saying, this is about cause. So the practice here in the ping circle and the practice in the intention circle is to cause influence, to cause listening. If you have big plans, no matter what they are, harmony in your family, great friendships, rewarding friendships, building a company, and you look at that third circle and you don't see too many people there, you got to go back to circle 5 and 4. Okay. So that's connection. Connection is about causing active listening on the other side. The pathway to it, in my opinion, because you can do it as a tyrant, you can control, you can manipulate. It's not bias. Actually, you can cause influence that way. You can cause it through fear. What we're talking about here is earning it through contribution. And contribution is not what you want to give someone. Contribution is through your own active listening, and this is very basic, so I know you're already aligned with this, but through your own active listening of the other person, that is the first contribution. Being present and active in the listening. Discovery then allows you to find out what's important to them and contribute in areas that are important to them. So this becomes about developing people around you. And when you're contributing to people around you, it will activate the natural law of reciprocity that Christian and Ross were talking about. John, go ahead.
Okay, so this is in contradistinction as you hear how intentionally he's speaking this into existence. This is in contradistinction to effect. So cause, effect. When you are at the effect of something, it just happens to you. That's the throne conversation. When you're causing something, that's the designed conversation. So Brett is constantly distinguishing intentionally between being at cause or being at the effect of something. And that means particularly it starts with ping and with the intentional circle, like that you are the one, given that who you are is you are the tribal leader of your own tribe, is that you are ongoingly, forever, and only at cause in the matter of your tribe.
And when do you need to do that?
Like breathing.
That 50, yeah, I like that. That 15-minute unit of time. That's, to me, that is just gold, because I just need to be here for 15 minutes at a time. Even with my crazy personality, I can manage that fairly well. So as John was saying, conscious or unconscious, chosen or allowed and tolerated, by design or thrown, at cause or thrown by effect. This is what this conversation is all about. This is just a place that I'm learning to operate from. And in that third circle, I'm measuring. This is where, and you're going to see this in the 5 E's today, this is where effectiveness starts to show. Efficiency is going to be in the fourth circle, in intention, and you're going to need to be efficient there. But effectiveness is going to show up in the third circle, connection. And this is the midpoint in your tribe. Okay, so I want to share something really quick, if I can bring this up. This is the punchline and really the summary of all of the TribeUp framework. And I want to just make sure we can all see that. Can you guys see my Word doc here?
Uh-huh.
Okay. It's that bold paragraph. Consciously living into a designed future, mastering the stewardship of time, money, and energy, and the wise investment of all three into the right people, places, and things. This is the path of tribal leaders. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing and we'll do a lightning round and just see where, just check the pulse. All right. So I want to have Josh. Josh, why don't we start with, sorry, you're taking a drink. Josh, just share what's come up for you in the last few weeks and where you're hearing from with all of this, and or if you have any questions, actually anything you really want to discuss, but let's start with you.
Okay. Aside from just full disclosure, I have just got over COVID and I have Lyme's and mono right now, so I have a lot of brain fog going on.
A major pull, by the way, a major pull at being at effect.
At effect.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a major pull to that. So you have to really, this is where intentionality really counts. I'm saying that because that's the same for everybody.
Yeah. No.
When we're ill, when we're kind of laid low, when we're distracted and stuff like that, it's a major pull to be at the effect of something. So COVID, mono, huge pull.
Yeah, and
so
I feel that.
Good for you for putting yourself in this at cause.
Yeah. I think what's become really present for me, and just conversations as well with Kim, is a lot of the things I've been doing wrong, which is making too much time for too many people and not necessarily feeling good about it. And I took this as like I needed to do this. Uh, I think just one more point on it. And I think I told you this, Brett, the other day when we talked in the small group, is when I did it correctly, it was very clear, meaning I set clear boundaries and did 15-minute ping with people that I definitely knew and had a lot of experiences with, but there I don't need more than 15 minutes, that it felt really good. And I think for me, I'm just navigating on feeling right now, and I'm really trying to do that intentionally. So
Great.
So, Josh, who do you want to hear from?
I would like to hear from Ross.
Perfect.
Hey, Josh. John, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Let's see. What's present for me over the past few weeks is when I receive an invitation, I'm aware of the question, do I really want to intend to spend time with this person? So Brett, thank you for creating this framework, because the framework is very accessible to me now. What just came to me right now is, okay, great. When people are giving you an invitation, I need to spend time to really decide what I want to create and be more proactive about who I choose to spend time with. So it's not waiting for somebody to invite me. It's me actually deciding, who do I want to spend time with? Kim.
Oh, amen to that. Same. Like how do we become the chooser? That was present for me from the beginning, and I haven't quite figured that out yet. But this week, what I noticed is that I'm actually much more comfortable being a cause with certain relationships, certain people, certain contexts. The people I actually want to influence, I tend to I tend to step back in those 10% of interactions and be the effect instead. I'm not sure why I do that yet, but I have an exception, and it's right when it matters most. I'm going to work on that.
Yeah, by the way, those of you who are in LinkedIn, you might want to go see Kim's latest LinkedIn entry. It really is touching.
Thank you. Thank you. Still processing all that too, but
yeah, you can see it. You can see it. It's very authentic.
Thank you. It is live happening. Christian, I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Kim. What's coming up for me over the past couple of weeks is Brett mentioned that we can use the circles almost as a background operating system or something to that effect. And that's what I really took away, is that looking at the circles with no attachment to it, like just having it there as a guide, that it's kind of always operating in the background, and I can choose where certain conversations or people, fall into those circles. And with that in the background, I noticed the past couple of weeks that I'm being really intentional with my actions and conversations inside of that operating system. So that's what's come up for me, is being really present to, hey, where this interaction right now, here now, where's that falling in this circle system? Like where is that at? And what do I want to cause with it? So that's where I'm at right now. And I'll call out Annika.
Thank you. Yeah, I was experimenting with the relationships I was meeting in both ends. For example, my mom is a very habitual relationship, and I realized I'm quite on the effect side of that one. So I think the target here is really to get on the core side. But there's many things which just get into the habits of such a relationship. The other one was very interesting because I was meeting a person in a certain context, but because I looked into the listening for opportunity, I would say, or for possibility, I realized that there's much more to, that relationship than that was actually, the target of the meeting, let's say. And the third thing was I became very intentional on there are people that I just feel, oh, I should connect with. Yeah, and then usually I just do it. And I realized sometimes it's for things like I want to get their attention or, just very, yeah, maybe not an intention from a creative process, I would say. Yeah. So that helped me as well on filtering and just asking, okay, what's the true intention of that call that I would make? Yeah. So I filtered out some of them that were in that category as well.
Beautiful.
So I would love to hear from Lydia.
I am benefiting from hearing how surgical people are being. It helps me not feel unkind when I choose. So that's made a very big difference to me to hear you choose so powerfully, and I appreciate that. And so I've had a lot of, I've been loving and relaxed around my own choices and allowing other people to choose. So it has felt less significant and less jarring to choose or to be chosen or not to choose and not to be chosen. Max?
Thank you, Lydia. What I've been inspired for a long, long time about with the idea and the distinction that my interactions with people are like seeds planted. I often quote that only God can count the apples in one seed. That idea that you just don't know. There's a sort of a potential of a butterfly effect in little interactions. And I've been really present to this, I talk to John once a week, and everybody I've talked to this week, I've been talking about how impactful this conversation has been for me, because what I'm seeing is that it's operationalizing it for me. It's giving me tools and handles to realize and manifest that. So thank you, Brett. Tia, let's hear from you.
I'm calling it giving the gift in terms of how I've been consciously choosing the people I want to have in my life. So giving the gift meaning how I'm listening, what I'm listening for, and also just discovering what's coming out of that. And I don't know, I've just been really inspired by, how much I've pulled back on my availability, but also cultivating the time that I've got and really consciously creating something. Like I'm constantly knowing that where, my time is valuable, and so is everybody else's. So I'm appreciating more and have a lot of more gratitude for the experience so far. Peter.
I'm really being confronted by the what and why as I look through the day and as it flows and people show up, and it causes me to say, okay, what is it that I'm intending and why this person, and really looking at that through a unvarnished lens. And I'm kind of trying to balance as well the fundamental belief I have that so much just shows up. So much shows up serendipitously in life, and you have to notice it when it shows up. And yet you also have to have this attention. And so really sorting out where ping and intention are in the circles, allowing things to show up and being present for long enough to see if this is something that needs to go deeper. But balancing that, not just taking everything as good on the surface and not also not noticing, not noticing, not being oblivious. Let's see. David.
Thanks, Peter. You must have heard my thoughts. Brett has provided me with observation of what's happening in my life and how my socialization moves through these 5 circles. So as an example, I take the bus and I sometimes talk to the drivers, and that is ping. But then when I start seeing the drivers more often, the time spent becomes a little longer. There is one driver that has been on my route and off my route and on my route. So that's a ping. And now it's moved through intentionality because our conversations are longer, and now it's on Facebook. And now it's connection. So it's not a bus driver I talk to, but now it's become a connection. And these are distinctions that are available to me. So much so that she changed routes and I can't ride with her and I can't talk to her. But all of a sudden she said, well, here's my route. It's close to you. Why don't you come? And I said, well, it's kind of awkward to get to you. She said, well, so what? And I said, okay. So intentionality is find a way to get there. Spend some time with her. She said, yeah, spend some time with me. Why don't you do a whole loop of the route? Well, that's like an hour. And so this has been set up. I tested it yesterday because I was close to a route that connected with her. And now she says, okay, we'll see you Thursday because you're not doing anything on Thursday for an hour. And she says, now you know how to connect with me. Hurry up and we'll go a loop with me, or 2 if you want. So this is like an hour and a half. Is that a distinction of connection? That there was an intention and now it's connection. And then I may not see her again for 3 months. Does she move to ping or does she move to intention that I'll talk to her when I see her? I'll find out what route she's on because she's telling me. And then we've set up this connection where I get on her bus and ride. So this is the distinctions that I have available to me now that Brett's been just describing it.
David, that's brilliant. That's a brilliant story. I think you're dancing with it perfectly because you haven't decided, and it is showing itself moving in and out. She definitely has influence with you because she influenced you to change routes. You listened to what she said and you acted on what she said. And you have some influence with her because she wouldn't have done that. So, yes. And you're both kind of moving and you're really in discovery, which is really ping. But discovery happens in all the circles. But what's happening here is you're actually really trying to decide if you're going to settle into intention and turn this into something, maybe it's just a casual friendship and somewhat random and it really stays in ping. Or maybe this becomes an intentional friendship and you actually go out of your way to be with each other.
And as David told his story, one of the things to notice, so going back to what Max has given us, as he told his story, there's 4 levels of telling the story. There's telling, which is narrative. There is explaining, which is narrative. There is demonstration, which is what David actually shared with us, is he took the work and he's demonstrating the work in action in his life. So it's at the level of where leadership is beginning to occur.
Yeah.
He's actually being at cause in the matter rather than just having an opinion, an assessment, a judgment, or a point of view about it. So well-told story.
Well told.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it next week.
Okay, yeah, give us an update. We're going to turn this one into a reality show. Who do you call on, David?
Oh, I want to call on Sally.
Thanks, David. Well, it's good to be reconnected with you all. I really missed you, and it wasn't for lack of trying. Last Wednesday, I went to where I thought there had been a good internet connection, and then it wasn't working. So, anyway, I've got some catching up to do, but this experience of what we're going through here in Asheville, my internet just came back on last night, so thank God for that. But then my water main broke, and so I have no water again. And so it's been a survival situation, and I think we're all in some kind of a state of shock, and it feels like the Twilight Zone. I mean, I feel like I've been in the Twilight Zone for a month. The cool thing is that I'm suddenly falling in love. Funny thing happened during the hurricane, and was somebody who's really inspiring me. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Jury's out, but it's been a bright spot. And the universe gives you what you least expect just when you need it. And so what's happening is I have been kind of unplugged. And so with my organization, which is really at this pivotal moment, I'm getting that, it's time to redesign BCI or whatever it wants to be. And I've had, in this time where couldn't communicate, I've been kind of contemplating who I need to pull in, who I need to communicate with. I really need to rebuild a team. So, and, and this new love affair is connecting me with someone who may be a major donor that could solve my financial problem. I'll find that out tomorrow.
Double bonus.
Yeah, I know. So that's where I'm at. I'm looking forward to catching up, though. I want to watch the other the sessions I missed because I need to get my head around it, but I'm so glad to be here, and thank you.
Well, we're really happy to have all of you that have been going through that back on the call. We're worried about all of you.
Well, how are you doing, Max Paul?
I'm doing okay. We got water, and that's a big thing. It's not drinkable water. It's kind of brown. And the tank that's above us on the mountain I'm on is leaking like crazy. It's just shooting water up in the air, and they've got to fix that, but it looks like we'll have water. I'm after my workout at noon today, I go to a place where we can get a shower, wash clothes, all with water from tankers, that kind of thing. So it does feel like in a strange world where things almost work, but they don't really quite work. But we're still getting our drinking water and stuff like that. Anyway, back to this topic here. I've been asked to do filming for different organizations, and many of those organizations have had a lot in common. A lot of where I started, where they started 50 years ago, I knew the very people that founded those organizations. And at the same time, my filter is saying, and as we do that ping, it's like, that's a no. It's just a no. I wish it were a yes. I would love for it to be, because these are people that can say, hey, I can get you on a helicopter later on this afternoon. I'll make a phone call and you're on there right now. But that whole thing of this process of going, all of this is compacted. It's very fast. It's not, it needs to be a yes or a no. It's not like, well, let's have lunch next week and get to know each other. It's not that kind of deal. And some of the motives of these projects are politically motivated, which is not what I want to be about in this kind of Holocaust that we're doing here. That people are helping each other, people are working together, people are loving each other. They're saying, "Hey, what can I do for you? Can I help you?" Somebody in my house fell last night. It's like, "Can I take you to the hospital? Uh, he's my age," and it's like, "What can I do? We don't need to call an ambulance. I know where your ER is. I'll just take you over there." So it's working together and not making one group right and the other group wrong. It's like, oh man, that's not what I'm learning with this big jam Wednesday morning. I love being here. I love being part of this. And it's like, how do we get to that inner group? How do we get to that inner circle and say, wow, we know the best people in the world. And I love being here this morning. So great to be here. And Brett, just wonderful material that I'm using every day. And thank you for all the hard work that you've put into this. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
And I'll call on Artis.
Thank you, Max Paul. Happy belated birthday to you and happy birthday to John. I think like some people said, it's kind of been in the background. And for many of you who know, I'm taking on this global peace initiative, and I'm noticing like I had to quickly build my team, the production team. And I had this wonderful like experience of what Brett has been explaining yesterday with when I took on who would be the producer for the community concerts, the ones that were going to be all across the globe. And it would involve youth orchestras or ensembles or performers. There was only one person I had in mind, my friend Dominique. And we've known each other for over 20 plus years. And he just gave a presentation to the some of the executive members. He ran with the ambassador program. Like I literally was just like, got out of the way, and he created a whole framework, whole structure of how we can really have country ambassadors, performer ambassadors, youth ambassadors, and just like completely mapped out how we were going to launch this worldwide. And it was just that it was the coolest thing to see. And I've been getting like messages from other people on the executive team, like they just love my team. It's not even just Dominique, but even David. And I just brought on Rob and killing it. And we have less than a year to pull off the event.
Congrats.
Thank you. So it's just that, like you said, picking for intention and influence. Because we've built up our friendship for over 20 plus years with the people that I've brought on my team. And then one of them I just within the last 2 years, but it was just like a no-brainer. And also while we're going out to celebrities and influencers, just to get them to say their name and they support Pause for Peace, we're also noticing like if there's any slight hesitation, like if they can't get global peace right away and not make, and because like people you thought would be like a no-brainer yes, have all of a sudden made it like super political. We're like, no, it's like peace across the world. We're not talking about specific regions of the world. We've just said, thank you, we love you, and we're moving on, you know? And then sometimes they'll go, but, no, it's okay. Like, that's where you're at. So thank you, Brett. Like, it has helped us move with velocity.
When someone tells you who they are through their actions, believe them. That's where real choice comes from. You see it, and we sell ourselves otherwise, and then it just becomes so costly. Great job.
I will pick Allison.
Thank you. Good morning. Just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, Brett, because it's this framework has been in my lens and my view for quite some time now. But what's present to me at the moment is really just the words that you say very frequently. Choosing one thing means unchoosing another. And how you navigate that, because not all people, places, and things align with you and your values and what you stand for. And so by default of unchoosing, there's a lot of energy and effort and intentionality that goes into how you navigate relationships or places or things that are not serving your highest good. Because as you start to unchoose them, and I was really resonating with what you were sharing, Annika, with the relationship with your mother, not exactly the same, but just with familial relationships and people that are close, that are you get into a habit, you get into a groove with how you interact with them. And it requires a lot of intentionality when you navigate how to responsibly and respectfully unchoose them, especially when it's people you cared about at some point. So that's really been present to me right now. And also with what Christian was sharing about attachment, not getting attached to the outcome. I'm showing up as my highest and best in these interactions and giving my appropriate level of energy or time or money. And I feel okay with that and not getting too wrapped up in, well, how are they going to respond or what are they going to think? Because it seems cold sometimes to unchoose people, but if it's not serving your highest good, you have to put your own needs first. So that's what's been present to me this week. So
great.
Yeah. Brett's words and also sayings always in the forefront of how I'm navigating my life, similar to a lot of you guys are saying. It's running in the background, and it's a practice, of daily choices that you make. So I'm going to go ahead and call on Robin.
Every time someone talks, I'm like, oh, that's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to say. So I would say that I'm really having awareness around, I'm such a causational person, but I'm realizing in the last several years how much I've been at the effect of the people in my life and the things that are like happening to me. So it's in this living more causationally, I went through a period of grief because I was unchoosing everything and everybody. I probably like overdid it. And I felt sad for a while because I was almost afraid to like repick anything kind of back on my plate. And in the last several months, I am re-choosing and I am unchoosing, but from a responsible way and from an empowering way, instead of a sad way or letting go, or I was feeling mean that I wasn't choosing people, or I was questioning who I think I am, that I'm like choosing and not choosing. And to be in the space of really intentionally choosing the people in my life, it has created, I think somebody mentioned serendipity. It's all the right people, all the right things are showing up, and there's really nothing that I'm not aligned with. There's almost nothing even showing up that's out of alignment. And so it's getting easy. And it's very, very powerful and freeing. So it's a good stage to be at. Thank you.
I'm glad you said easy. More ease, less friction,
yes.
Less dis-ease.
Yes. So nice. Finally, 56 years it took. Let me see. Sakina, has Sakina gone?
No.
Okay.
Thanks, Robin. I just want to say it's like super inspiring to hear everyone share so authentically in this group, and I feel really privileged to be a part of this discussion. What's coming up for me is ownership. As we talk about influence and being the cause of your tribe, I wonder, in the past when I haven't had the right outcomes in my life, maybe that was a result of not taking ownership, or maybe, on the opposite end of that, maybe fostering more of like a victim mentality or something like that. And so that's what I'm making a mental note of. And I would like to call on, who has it? Johar?
Johar and Ben and Kim. No, Kim, did you go? Yeah,
Yes.
Kim. Yeah, Kim went.
I think it's happy birthday, John and John.
Thank you, Johar.
And me. So I think to me is, working with Brad for over 2 years is FOMO. I used to have a FOMO. I have to check Facebook. I have to check LinkedIn. I have to check everyone. And I built up over 16,000 LinkedIn followers or connections. But now I don't even look at LinkedIn or Facebook or anything because I'm not afraid anymore who is my real tribe is. So I think those has clear up that fear, I think makes us do the wrong things. And if we just control the fears, because fear will never go away, but you need to learn to control. So that's, if I miss something, somebody else will tell me someday. So I think the more you clear your mind, you get the fear out, the more correct decision you make in your life to grow yourself.
You made me emotional. That was super impactful.
So who's left
On
here? Ben?
Thanks, Johar. Hi, everybody. I think the thing that's been most present, not only this week, but through this whole process is picking apart deeper meaning in Brett's teachings from hearing a lot of it on a repeat basis. And there's still even more that hits me every time that I hear the language used in my life. It like to borrow phraseology from John a couple weeks ago, it maps to me in a different way. It's like a cartographer making a little bit more definition on the inlet that they didn't catch the first time. And one of those things, we say it a lot, even during these sessions, is making it all about the other person. And then this phraseology of listening into existence. And I've put a lot more attention on the listening into existence portion of making it about the other person, because there is a lot more cause in listening into existence versus even suggesting that you're doing something like attentive listening or active listening, because those things, I think for myself at least, they imply that I am in the moment doing the listening, but is there really a cause that it's having an effect on with the other person? And a lot of the time it's not, because you're listening for the sake of gathering. I gathered the information, so I can prove it to you because I can spit it back out to you. This is what we talked about. And if you can itemize a list of what you talked about, that's great. But how did it cause anything in the other person's life to have that effect? And it's more to me like there's a distinction between, if you're simply listening, you're uncovering, but if you are listening into existence, you are actively discovering alongside the other person. You're discovering potentially something new that you never knew before, they never knew before. You're not simply looking to knock things off of a checklist by the end of the conversation. You're not really sure where then that path might lead. And that's where the magic kind of unfolds. So that's been my practice, and it's opening my eyes up in new ways too. It's very fun.
Brilliant. Is that everyone? Oh my gosh.
Sakina
went.
She did. I missed her. Thanks. That might be everybody.
Sakina, in 2-3 words, would you tell Kim what you?
Yes, please.
Seconds, would you?
Yeah, definitely. I talked about just ownership. And what's coming up for me is in the past where when I haven't gotten the result I wanted, was I kind of fostering why wasn't I fostering an ownership mentality?
Great.
Interesting. I didn't hear the one I probably needed to. Thanks, Sakina.
Notice what Brett just did, by the way. This is very tribal, what he just did. No one left out, no one left behind.
Christian? I didn't hear Christian.
Yes, I went. I was talking about how it's like an operating system just in the background, and I get
yes.
Yeah.
Which is
functional.
Really, yeah, it's really great. That's all. This is an operating system, and in it, for me personally, there are some things. There are some things that kind of describe or they're almost like filters or march. I don't know what to call them exactly, but I'll just say a few of them. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Less done better is more. Say less and honor more. Choosing one thing means I'm simultaneously unchoosing many other things. So these things start to become,
these, by the way, Brett, these are principles.
There you go. So they're what we call they fit into the 4 P's. So you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. There's perspective, philosophy, principles, and practices. The 4 P's of a thriving tribe. Perspective. We've been through perspective. We see the 5 circles now in a perspective. Philosophy. This is, for me, philosophy is that my tribe is a social structure around me. It's not something I do off to the side. I cannot escape it. I cannot escape my life. My life is, as long as I'm alive, I am in my tribe from birth to death. This was not something I chose to build at age 42. That was when I had my tribal awakening. That's when I began to see the perspective at age 42 in 2012. I had an awakening to this because I was in pain, because I had invested, and someone brought this up. I can't remember who it was. Let's see. Oh, it was Josh. Here's what triggered my awakening. We invest too much, too early, and too many for too little. And the sum or the effect of my life was a circumstance that caused a lot of pain. And it brought me to confront, if I am so damn smart, how did I end up here? And that inquiry began to form a perspective, philosophy, and uncover principles and implement practices. So with that, we're going to go into one more thing I want to share, and then Allison will bring up the 5 E's. And let's see, we'll just share. These are just little pieces out of the book I'm writing, but little pieces. Can you see that?
Yes.
Brett, can I ask a quick question before you dive in?
Yeah, please.
I tend to really I need to focus on something as someone who's been doing this wrong for 10, 20 years. What does it feel like when you're doing this correctly? Like when you've gotten into your flow with this, just what does it feel like? Like, how do I know I'm there?
I think you just answered it, Josh. You feel this flow, and it's never 100%. I mean, not for me. When someone says to me, "Oh, Brett, I get it," I'm like, "You're a daisy if you do," because after 12 years, I'm still getting it. And I go in and out of flow, and I feel the flow and things. Ben was saying something so brilliant. I have to brag for a second. And here's how I think you know. Ben was describing something, and him and Allison moved to Sedona to be closer to me, and to work on these principles and this project. They're helping inside of the gallery, and Ben has been working inside of the gallery with our team. He is not only is he outperforming all of us in so many ways, but he is literally listening the other staff into existence and causing them to perform at a higher level. So the principle is actually in flow, and it's manifesting this incredible result. And then Ben shows up on the call and he's describing what I've experienced in the last few weeks. And I'm like, there it is. There's the tangible realness of the flow it creates. And the other thing I would say too, Josh, is that as long as a person is feeling that this is cold, they're still somewhat disconnected from it, because once you really connect with this, there's nothing about it that's cold. It feels that way in the beginning because you're learning how to go from effect to cause, and it's different and uncomfortable. But when you're in flow and you're at cause, you realize this is the greatest service you could give other people. This is the highest and best way to serve other people, is to not waste their damn time pretending that you're going to be something you're not, and that they're going to be something for you that they're not. And so to me, it becomes an act of love continuously. I'm not good at it. I'm not perfect at it. But when I practice it and practice it well, it shows up that way. Does that help at all?
Thank you. Very helpful.
So this is kind of a little bit out of context, because there's a lot written above it that gets us to here, which is when I went through this confrontation in 2012 of my circumstances and asked the question, and then followed by the statement. And the statement was, either lay down and die or get up and live, but no more in between. I was neither here nor there. And so I was nowhere. And in nowhere, I don't know who I am. I know who I am if I'm here, and I know who I am if I'm there. But I was in between. I was stuck in victim and circumstance and effect, and feeling like I needed to be a cause. And the inquiry became, what is success? And the discovery was, over a long period of time, that success is not something we attain or obtain. It is who and how we are. It is found in our ways of being, and our ways of being are found in the present moment, which is the only place we can ever be. So with that, Allison, I'd like to bring up the 5 E's and we'll wrap this up. Oh, I think we might need to let Allison share. Oh, she's got it. Great job. All right. So the 5 E's. This is a practice. And it's an awareness and a practice. And if you remember in the 7 I's, the first I is choosing for importance. When we're in ping and we're in discovery, we're making a judgment. We're discovering and we're making a judgment. I'm not saying this in a harsh way. We brought this up earlier where we talked about, which was a great discussion, by the way, and I hope it hit home. But John asked the question, or someone asked the question, do you put more quality into the inner circle than you do, let's say, in the macro? And my answer, which I still stand firm in, is that I'm going to put the quality wherever I am. Why would I put any less quality into an interaction with someone like Max Paul was talking about? All these wonderful people going through this experience, Do you treat them any less than or less important, or it has nothing to do with that. There's at no time is it really acceptable in the mastery of this practice to be anything less than operating with dignity, respect, and uncommon courtesy, with kindness and compassion. You wouldn't add any more of that in the inner circle than you would to a complete stranger. Now, are we always operating there? No, because we're human. But the practice in 15 minutes is to keep coming back to that, right? So there's no less quality, and that's why it's not cold. All we're doing is choosing for, not are you important in life, not are you an important person. What I'm choosing for is, are you important to my life by design, i.e. romance, friendship, partner, vendor, provider, client, customer, business, co-founder, investor. These are all needs you have in your life, are they not? These are all wants, desires, and needs that we have. So what are you discovering for? I'm discovering for the importance to fill the building materials of my life by design. What E1 is okay, you've chosen for importance. You've chosen, let's say, 3 people important. Thank you. Now, you need to elevate for priority. Because choosing one thing means you're simultaneously unchoosing many other things. You're operating inside of a 15-minute unit of time, and you've chosen importance. Now you need to elevate for priority, because everything can't be a priority. So Stephen Covey Sr. did a great job at teaching all of this in the 7 Habits, right? There's important, urgent. What is it? Important, urgent, important, and then urgent and non-important. I think might be the 4 quadrants, but I really mainly operate with the top 2, which is there's important, urgent. That might be a priority. Important might be a lower priority, but still a priority. And here's where the trick comes in the practice. If you've got a lot of important, urgent things to put into a 15-minute unit of time, something is off. How can you do that? You have to, what it shows up like is overwhelm. That's what overwhelm is going to show up, because everything is important, urgent. It might make you start to look at life and say, oh, I need an assistant. I need to delegate. I need to build a team. I need to stop micromanaging. I need to let go of some control. I see your heads nodding because you feel these things. So what you're doing here is you're choosing for importance and you're designing life. Then you're elevating for priority. And now, Allison, E2, you're moving in with this person, place, or thing, and you must become efficient with it. Being around me is not easy because I tend to be a little bit short. Because I don't want to waste the unit of time in a bunch of fluff. And so I want to kind of convey my love and care to the best of my ability, which I'm not always good at. But I want to be efficient in the conversation because of this practice. I've got to be efficient. There are only so many things I can invest time, money, and energy in, right? And when you become efficient through this process, if this is hitting home at all, and we'll pause in this next circle for a second, when you become efficient, then you can start to move into effective. Okay, so efficiency is management. And now in the 3rd circle, connection, we're actually we're becoming effective. I am operating at my highest and best because I've chosen for importance, I've elevated for priority, I've managed for efficiency, and now I'm leading for effect. And I'll pause, and Allison, we can go ahead and shut it down for a second. We'll take just a very quick, try and keep it short, succinct, concise. Any questions or comments about that so far? Ross?
Yeah. Just honestly, with the efficiency piece, I'm still not getting it. That's plain for me. It's plain as quick as I can say it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Think of efficiency like, thank you for that, by the way. I'm really happy that you brought that up. Think of efficiency like systems, automation, people, time efficiency, or even the old analogy, if you take a piece of steel and you make paper clips out of it, then the piece of steel is worth $100. If you take that same piece of steel and you make surgical instruments out of it, it's worth $5,000. It's being efficient with time, money, and energy, and people, places, and things. So maximizing or optimizing and automating systems, people, even places. Maybe it's the way your office is. It's cluttered and you know it's bothering you, and it's slowing down productivity because your office is cluttered. Stop for 5 minutes, get it straight, get efficient, and get clear. John, did you have something?
Yeah, this is on the other side of that. So the other end of the spectrum is, how many of us are still living inside of the mythology of the efficiency and even effectiveness of multitasking?
Mm-hmm.
This is do one thing, do it well in your 15 minutes.
Yeah. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Yeah.
Less done better is more. Say less and honor more. I said that. I'm sometimes perceived, and probably am, and I'm working on it, but a little bit direct, efficient. I call it, for me, it's efficient. For someone else that is not exactly at cause, it's very direct. People that are at cause, I love it. They appreciate it because it's efficient for them too.
Yeah, and literally living inside of a belief structure that multitasking is having you be more efficient is one of the criminal things that we're doing, particularly in America. Yeah. But it's one of the criminal things that we do in our relationships with one another that has us be ineffective, has us be sloppy, have us not be at cause, have us be at the effect of, and having us into a throne life.
Brett, can I chime in with something?
Yeah.
There's something inside of what you said that I'm kind of grappling with or in the inquiry about, which is very much resonating with the efficiency part. Like, I'm very much a net person. Like, just cut the story out. Just tell me the net. Like, I got to move on. Like, let's just make a decision and move on. But what I'm in the inquiry about is, how do I insert the compassion and generosity and the listening to the person when in my machinery is going off like, okay, what's the net of this story right now so we can move on, but being generous in the listening with the other person so that I'm not being direct or coming across as short.
Beautiful. Oh my God, beautiful. Well, here's what comes to mind. Living life as a work of art. You've got to make that decision real time, and you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. There are times where you need to be, if you extend compassion and your time and your money and energy to everyone, you will end up depleted, and you will say things like, I give and give and give, and no one gives back. Where's the reciprocity? What we're saying here is you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. I sometimes will make that call in real time, in the moment, go, this person really needs me to hear them. And then there are other times where it's like, cut out all the bullshit because we can do this in 5 seconds and we'll both move on happy from it. Right? And so this is an art that each of us have to find our balance in with our personality and the principles and practices.
Can I raise a pondering also, Brett, just in regard to both you, Christian and Ross? Perhaps it might be helpful to also think back to the image that we just saw and see that efficiency is mapped to the same circle as intention is. Mm-hmm. So if it's not altogether clear how the efficiency can be gained, it's probably okay at that level of the inner circle because you haven't yet moved somebody that you might be thinking of or a situation you might be thinking of past the intention circle. And that's why you're perhaps juggling with it. But that's probably exactly where you're supposed to be at the same time.
That's great. Absolutely great.
Thank you, Ben.
Brett, go ahead, David.
Go ahead.
Brett, I've been thinking about your, last week you were getting ready to meet your family, your children, and in Las Vegas. I've been thinking all week, how did that go for you? Since you have this, let's be effective, and I want to be your dad, and I love you very much. And listen, I got a Zoom call here in another hour. So can we just cut that a little bit shorter? I'm very curious how that went for you.
Yeah. I blocked just about everybody in the world for 3 days. And my daughter has been texting me every day. I will never forget this trip. I got the biggest return on investment I could ever possibly wish for. I will tell you, we didn't even go to a show. And the reason we didn't go to a show is because we could not stop visiting with each other.
Right.
And
so that's what.
Yeah. Right. Go ahead, Max.
No, that's part of this whole thing of being effective and efficient. But part of that is just like, how about let's just be? Let's just be. No agenda. We don't have to. This isn't a list of things we're going to do together as daughter and dad. It's just blah. Let's hang out.
That's exactly. So that is the paradox, right? I mean, in a way, we're going highly structured, and then you hear me say, and I blocked everybody, and I was completely loose for 3 days because I had blocked intentionally the time for my daughter. And even in the conversations, I just intently, as Ben was saying, like listening her into existence. The reason I think she felt so great, first of all, her love language is quality time.
Right.
And then second is we did nothing. We did have a few drinks one night. And so we were up at 3 a.m. and needed water. We were half undressed, walking down the hotel corridor. I didn't have contacts in. It was an hour to find water at 3 a.m. And she can't stop talking about it. She goes, can you believe so you get the point, right? As goofy as can be, as loose as can be, but make no mistake about it, I intended to be there for that time.
God.
And it wasn't in 15 minutes.
Nope. It was blocks of 15 minutes over 3 days. Yeah.
Right.
Max.
I'm really present to this this seeming paradox of efficiency and listening people into existence and all of that. Well, there's several paradoxes at work here. And what I'm getting is, this might be a little bit of what John was pointing to at the top of the hour when he said, dwell in the distinction between craft and art, is that you're pointing us towards the art. The craft, gaining craft in anything is messy. Mm-hmm. And it's mistakes. I always think of when I learned to carve, and both of my pointing fingers are bent because of my learning to carve. I sliced both of them, right? There's there's a there's just a necessity of, falling and, but the point is that we've got to have to develop craft on which we can possibly achieve and express art. We have to be willing for it to be messy. We have to be willing for it to be imperfect and, zig and zag and be outside the lines and, apologize for mistakes we made, all of that. That's what I'm getting from this.
Max, I want to tell you how John and I, just a brief story, when John and I first met. I don't know if John remembers this. We were introduced by Wayne Clancy and we got on a Zoom call. And John had looked into me a little bit, maybe listened to some videos or done some things. And he said, "Young man, I have a question for you. Where did you learn what you know?" Because we were being introduced about the tribe conversation. He was having it independently from me, and I was over here doing what I was doing. And I said, "Well, I've had parents, teachers, preachers, and gurus, and webinars, seminars, and bars, but my teacher has been effect." And what you're saying is, it is the messy effect of our life that you, not right or wrong or accurate or inaccurate, but works or doesn't work. So I don't think any of this is fast, hard, formal fact. I just believe that when you have it and you're going through some of the chaos in life, the principles and the practices help you kind of identify what's going on and what might cause the outcome or effect that you really desire. Consciously living into a designed future. David.
I can't hold back any longer, but I'll make it succinct. Thank you, Sakina. Is effectiveness moving into the third circle? And if so, then effectiveness is at cause of relatedness.
Yeah, I could see that.
So is that a correct statement or a perspective?
I think it's a correct statement, and I'll tell you why. If leadership is probably many things, and I think that's a big discussion. But if leadership is influence, then it is relatedness. It's a relation. It's not necessarily relationship. I kind of laughing these days when people talk about sales is about relationship. It can't be. You can only have so many relationships, which means your sales would be limited, and most people wouldn't operate in that paradigm. And they're actually double-minded. They're in the middle. They're not here nor there, so they're nowhere, because that's what double-minded is. But it is related to, and the way we're related is I am causing value, I'm creating value, and you're reciprocating listening. And so you're reciprocating value, and it's causing impact. Remember, in the 7 eyes, impact is the 6th eye. It's causing impact, right? And done over time, it brings about intimacy. So this is exactly at effect, right? We're becoming effective in the third circle, and evidence is also there. The evidence that we're being effective. So that the 5th and the 4th circle are actually, we're operating in those intentionally, purposefully, consciously. The evidence of that is showing up in the 3rd circle, and we're effective.
Yes. I see that.
Okay, I love that. I
Thank
see
you,
you
Chris.
right now seeing that. Thank you. Anything else before we go through these last two E's?
I have a question that just came. I just wrote this down. I have a question for you also, Brett. So if living life as a work of art, achieving art is to have the impact, maybe, because the impact can only be felt with other people viewing it as art. And all the way up until that point of impact, maybe it's just a craft.
No, that's a
I don't
good
know
one.
if there's I don't know if there's a progression to it or not, but it's just something that came to me.
Say it again and let's have John comment on it.
So if impact is not necessarily the goal, but the state of arrival or the place of arrival of having your highest and best influence be felt, I'm wondering if achieving that impact is the same as the impact being viewed as an artwork, because just like in the art world, you can have a craft and be messing around and tinkering around with whatever you're trying to create until the final product, but it might not actually be art unless somebody else thinks it's art and somebody else looks at it as a work of art, meaning it had impact on them. So my question might be, is that status of art, is it only achieved by way of going through the process of craft and getting to that final eye of impact? It's only achieved by doing whatever the steps of craft might be in the five circle sense.
I have a that
Go ahead.
that if it is the way you describe it, then achieving art is an external validation thing. It's not internal. Because you're
right. You're right about that.
And so can you achieve a static artist or producing art purely off of internal validation? Brett,
I like that distinction question too. That adds another flavor to it I hadn't considered.
Great, Peter. John?
Well, I'd say the short answer is yes, in terms of you must have craft prior to having art, because craft is the foundation for art. And then I have a slightly different kind of look at it than you do, Ben, about, or that you're questioning about impact. I feel that it is art is an experience. So, I mean, that's just the language that I use rather than impact. I'm sure it does have an impact on people. And like Peter said, that has it be external. I don't get that. I get that it's universal, and I get that it's an experience, and I get that it's built on craft.
Beautiful.
And it's just an opinion.
Right.
That's all it is.
Here's what's interesting. I'm with all three of you. Yes, sometimes it's an impact and it's felt that way on the other side. Sometimes impact is actually on me.
Mm-hmm.
The creation of art is the impact on me. Me learning Russian right now is not impacting much of anyone, but it sure is impacting me.
Well, take that. You know, there is you're in the craft part of learning Russian, but Dostoevsky raised the language to an art form.
Right. So, I mean, that whole thing right there is just a great inquiry in itself. So I love that you brought that up. And Peter, I love what you put in there, because I agree. I don't want to be, I spent the first half of my life being very destination focused, and I don't want to sound counter to what I've been saying over these 4 weeks. I am still destination focused, but I care, but not that much. I'm more interested in success, which has nothing to do with destination. It is about who and how I am, for me. So destination, yes. Do I want the gallery to go to a certain point? Yes. Do I want TribeUp to be a certain thing? Yes. What I'm more interested in is what is happening before all of that. The experience.
Yeah, you might think, Brett, that destination and destiny have the same root. And destiny is an unfolding. It's an organic unfolding. It's an organic unfolding of character.
Yeah. Well said.
You know, the other thing that occurs to me on that, Brett, is that success has authentic gratification at the end of the rainbow for us, where achievement has a fleeting sort of it's somebody shared with me recently, it's endorphins versus what's the other one?
Oxytocin.
Right. It's the long-term realness of success versus the shorter term, oh, I achieved it, now what?
Yeah, that dopamine hit.
Dopamine. That's
We didn't get into this because, and it's a big part of the framework, but what I found inside of all of this is that we needed to unblur attainment, obtainment, achievement, and accomplishment from success. I found that it needed a very conscious unblurring. Okay. And we didn't really get into it. But what I'll say really quickly about that is a lot of people are in the paradigm when they see someone, let's say Joe has a net worth of $50 million and people go, Joe's very successful. Well, here's what you don't know. You see achievement and you say Joe is very successful because Joe achieved a $50 million net worth. What you don't know is, did he do it through helping people and serving people and adding value, or did he rob banks for the last 20 years? Did he do it and keep his family intact, or did he destroy his family in the process? See, the things that happened before the achievement were successful or not successful. But we keep blurring and we superimpose success onto achievement. And it confuses our brain. It's what the Bible referred to as double-mindedness. They are not the same thing. And Robin and I just went through this talk. You're neither here nor there, so you're nowhere. Double-mindedness is nowhere. I don't know who I am. And we have to,
the rest of that verse, Brett, is and unstable in all his ways.
Exactly. It's instability. Thank you, Max. Okay, we have 2 minutes to go through these last 2 points, and then we'll jump off. So Allison,
or you can put them for, that's like tease it for next week.
Beautiful. Next week we're going to go through the final 2, and then we'll demo the app, and I think that'll be a wrap.
I think the most profound thing you said, Brett, is no more in between.
Amen. No more in between.
No more Mr. In Between.
There you go.
Yeah. Good song.
Great job, everybody. You are rocking. Truly.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Brett.
It's
Thanks,
been
Brett.
so great.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank
Brett.
you, Brett.
And thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, you guys are doing great. Great contribution.
A demonstration of awesomeness, Brett.
Thank you, David. Very kind.